The reality is after I watched it, like, I think after the second time is when I called you. I watched through it twice before I called you.
Yeah.
I'm actually, like, part of me is actually very mad about how this all played out. And it has, I mean, obviously, I'm with you in terms of the situation shouldn't have happened. I would have preferred none of this to go down this way.
Why are you mad?
I'm mad because it's not like they didn't have this footage. And from what I'm seeing of the video feed that the Daily Mail released, it doesn't even look like it's officially released footage. It's somebody taking a video
of a screen.
Right.
Yeah, they...
so it doesn't even seem like an official release. It seems like a leak.
It is a leak.
Right.
I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
That at least that's what it appears. So you're saying, why wasn't this released earlier?
Right.
Why was this perspective not available to the public to see and to at least the police should have released it because it makes them, it doesn't make them look good, but it makes them look
better.
Infantile. Yeah. Better. A little bit better than what we saw on the other videos that were released.
It's hard to make monsters of them at this point because you see them acting as humans in the beginning of this.
Right.
And so like that.
You see them attempting.
Right. So.
That's a very good question. That was my first question to you, I think, is like, why was this footage...
and it doesn't even seem like it was intended to be released, even now.
If it's a leak.
Right.
Yeah, so what is... Basically, what are you getting at? Like, what are you asking what is the purpose of that? Why have they not released this footage?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's... Yeah, because...
And I'm going to sound a little tinfoily hat here, but my spidey senses of I feel like I'm being played are tingling. I feel like I'm being played.
Not just you.
Like
everyone being played.
Because this is not the first time. Like removing just talking about one entity. How many times have we seen the media routinely, the mainstream media routinely cover a scenario while omitting specific details, specific angles, specific aspects of a statement
every day
in order to make it seem a certain way?
Every day.
Right.
Literally you can flip between
Fox and CNN.
Yeah. And you'll get the same story, but two different versions of it. And you end up being, if you're susceptible to that sort of thing, you can be mad at a very different aspect of that same story. Mm-hmm. You could blame someone else, and then you go for the other channel and they're blaming something else. Mm-hmm. And you're still not getting the full story. You're just getting their take on it.
Right.
You're not getting unfiltered news.
And I find it interesting because, like, you take another case that happened after George Floyd case, the Rayshard Brooks case. The first video feed that I saw was the body cam footage from that event. And what's interesting is that body cam footage makes the situation look very different than what actually happened because you're looking at a limited view. Mm-hmm. Because you don't see what the actions that Rayshard Brooks takes after the shuffle from that angle. But then other video that's released after everybody gets upset about it adds more context to where it's kind of like, okay, that's a little bit like it's another situation where I don't like it's tragic, but it's also like it calls into question, did I witness a crime? Mm-hmm. Am I looking at a crime here?
Like, and when you're saying, did I witness a crime, you're talking about on the part of the officers?
Right.
Yeah.
Is what they did a crime? Mm-hmm. And when I first saw the body cam footage, it looked like a crime. And then it took the cell phone footage like a week later. Mm-hmm. Looks less like a crime. And I'm seeing a reversal of the type of footage that I'm seeing, the source of the footage, but the same pattern of initial thing I'm shown looks very much like a crime. Mm-hmm. The thing I'm shown after the fact
calls into question
whether or not I saw a crime.
Yeah.
And I can't help but feel like that's somewhat by design.
Who has that much pull in the Minneapolis Police Department to say nah, or even above them, I would imagine?
Yeah. It's probably coming from above if it's happening the way that I think it's happening.
Whether it's governor or higher up or someone else who's not even or people who are not even in part of the elected officials.
Yeah. Because
I mean, we don't have any evidence to support who it would be, but it is interesting to think about.
At the very least, I think there is a major case to be made for not releasing that footage to the public being negligent. Because what happened?
Worldwide movement of people, and you've got a mix of protests, and you got a mix of
and you've got battles with the police to this day and federal agents to this day. Like the Portland has been going on 60, 70 some odd days,
several months
straight.
later.
Like,
Yeah.
and there's more people that have died in the wake of this thing.
Right.
And that's not even at the hands of police. That's at the hands of each other at this point. There's cases where people who are afraid for their lives just drive an Uber, trying to get through a part of a city, ends up, turning into where there's a group of people that are angry and armed. Mm-hmm. And so you now have citizens at odds with each other,
right,
killing each other.
People are mad.
Like,
people are very upset. And I think the pandemic, being at home, being kind of like forced out of your work, a lot of people don't have jobs right now. A lot of people don't have income. Mm-hmm. The local and state and federal level of government have not really handled the situation well financially in terms of making sure people are good because they're forced to stay home. So, okay, what do I do for money? Okay, we got you a little bit of things, but we're going to handle it horribly, as well as not handling the virus situation. Mm-hmm. But we've already talked about that. And then you've got this situation with George Floyd that happened, getting people out in the streets.
But but even in conjunction of those two things, you've got public officials talking out of both sides of their mouth, because on one hand, the virus is something to be taken seriously, but on the other hand, they welcome protests.
Oh, no, I understand that. And, yeah. I guess what I was getting at is people have a lot of energy right now.
Yeah.
And especially the days leading after, or after the George Floyd murder happened. People had a lot of energy, and a lot more people had more energy to even keep going. Mm-hmm. And, like what we said in terms of the media and certain ways that stories are portrayed, some places or some outlets pushed a narrative harder than others, which directs anger. Especially if there's a lot of energy, it's a powder keg. Like, you just aim it, And so a lot of these people who are angry, they've been aimed, and now they're going along their path. And
honestly, I feel like this footage wouldn't have been, if it is a leak, this footage wouldn't have been dropped until pretty much after the case. Mm-hmm. Because what my personal opinion is, what I think, and it's still going to happen, it's just going to happen slightly differently, is what we're going to see here is because the case right now is a second-degree murder case. They're going to lose that case. I can almost guarantee they're going to lose that case at this point. And that's going to set people off again. That's going to be
nuts, because people are going to feel like they didn't get justice.
And you know what? They're going to be told that they didn't get justice.
Well, yeah.
It's going to be spun that way.
They're going to hear what... Exactly. No, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No. I'm not saying anything. I was just like, I think you put it in much better words than I was. Yeah.
And so we're going to do this dance all over again.
Yeah, people are going to be very mad because no one's responsible now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, we saw someone do this. And the prosecution was like, hey, we tried to fight for you.
Right.
And it's like they made a huge misstep because I would imagine they had access to the body cam footage.
Yep. Somebody had to know.
Like, There's no
way you wouldn't know that. That has to be submitted into evidence.
My thing is, why would you go after a charge that you are very unlikely to get? And I think your answer to that was, well, look at the public outcry. Mm-hmm. These are elected officials.
It's a political move.
It's a political move.
They have to.
They feel like they have to. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't do it, they're going to suffer. They're going to suffer at the polls or whatever it is. And I'm like, that's a shit system.
And I know that this case is going to take some time to prosecute. So what will likely happen, I'm banking on it. Like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll eat crow. But like, I'm banking on it. What's probably going to happen is this case is not going to come to a verdict before our election cycle is over. Mm. So they'll already have the support they need. They'll already have the support they need. They'll already have the backing because they did everything that the public outcry wanted them to do. And then they're going to fail, but it's too late. It's not going to hurt their polling because they're not going to be up for re-election for some time. And people have short memories.
The incentives are in the wrong place.
Yeah.
The incentives for these politicians is in the wrong place. They have no incentive to actually serve to do the right thing.
Yeah.